Hello. Today I want to share with you how I use Promptly to write more in Indonesian almost every single day. But first up, you may be wondering what Promptly is. Well, Promptly is a subscription that gives you a brand new writing and speaking prompt every single week. Alongside that, you get multiple suggestions from me on how to use that prompt, the different directions you can take it in, so you're never stuck for inspiration again. And I created Promptly because I knew that the thing that is missing for a lot of people is practice. You don't need more resources giving you vocab, giving you grammar, giving you things to put in here without a chance to practice it out here and out here with your hand writing. Every single prompt works across levels and across languages. So whether you are beginner, intermediate, advanced, whether you're learning French or Fijian or another language that begins with F, I can't think of off the top of my head, Frisian, then it's going to work for you. And like I said, I've been using Promptly myself lately to get a bit of practice in with Indonesian and Malay. Very similar languages. I also want to add in some optional steps here as well for how you could take this even further or use this in different ways. So first up, an optional step is to get your email sent to a separate inbox or folder. So every single Monday when the new prompt is released, you will get an email sharing that prompt with you, sharing those suggestions. And I know it's really easy for an email to get lost in your inbox nowadays, but why don't you send this to a new email just for Promptly, or a new folder specifically where you can go in and check on the days that you know you've got time so that you don't miss out on any of the prompts. This would be something that would be really helpful if your inbox is full and maybe on Monday it's not the best day for you. Maybe you do all of your practice on the weekend, and so by the weekend comes around, the Monday email is gone. So this would just help to keep things organized and help you keep on top of it all and make sure you get a chance to really use everything. And then into what I do myself. So the next thing I do once I've got the prompt is I use the Notes app on my phone. And this isn't a fancy Notes app that requires a subscription or is some kind of one-time payment or anything like that. This is just the free Notes app that is inbuilt to my phone. And there's a few reasons for this. I would love to use a physical notebook, but right now I'm traveling and in different places, and it's another thing to add weight to my luggage if I do that. It would be great to use even a digital notebook like a Remarkable or a Kindle Scribe or something. But again, it means buying the thing, carrying the thing, getting used to the thing. And so all of those things for me become hurdles, right? If I'm not carrying a notebook, or if I don't have a Kindle Scribe or a Remarkable, that becomes a hurdle to doing the practice in the first place. And we don't want hurdles because that's probably why you're not doing enough practice as it is. There's too many hurdles in the way. So the more we can reduce that, the better. So that's why for me, it's Notes app all the way. My phone, when my alarm goes off in the morning, I pick it up, I turn off the alarm. And then if I'm really awake enough, then I'll be, let's go. Let's do my little writing first thing. If not, it might happen a bit later with breakfast or even throughout the day. If something is interesting and I want to write about that, I'll add something in there too. But I'm not just writing away and then maybe checking Google Translate in the moment or typing it all into Google Translate and then copy and pasting it to the Notes app. No, there's a few other steps that I do to really help me get the most from the whole process. So when I'm drafting my written responses, I use capital letters to type out in English, the words that I don't know. So it might say, for example, saya mau, and then I think, how do I say tree or dog or building or whatever? There's a word I don't know. Then I would hit the little capitals and type it in English. And then I can carry on. I'm not taken out of the moment, taken out of the zone, trying to look up a word and then having to come back. My attention stays on what I want to create and what I want to produce. And that just really helps to stay in the flow of everything and to write more, quite frankly. And then what I do with this is I aim for 5 mistakes. Now, sometimes that means that I will be writing just one sentence before I get those 5 words that I don't know, or the 5 mistakes that I know the grammar is off. And I think, okay, I've written 1 sentence, but I've got 5 mistakes. That's 5 things that I then want to look up. Sometimes I'll be writing for ages and able to say loads about the topic. And then suddenly it's, oh wait, hang on, I don't have to say this. So all perfect, and then bing, capital, and then bing, capital, with a decent chunk of text. So the great thing about this is that it just gives me a rough guideline. I'm not thinking I need to do X number of words or write for X number of minutes. For me, this is the best way to go about it. For you, it might be a time frame. It might be an amount of words. There's other measures that you can use that are going to be perhaps better for you. You get to experiment and decide. But that's what I do right now, is I draft and I use capitals and I get 5 of them. Now, this is where things get a little bit different. If I'm offline, if I am on a plane or whatever, or in a place with really bad Wi-Fi, then that's all I do for that stage. And I hope I'll get a chance to come back to it later. Mostly 9 times out of 10 I do. If not, eventually I will. But if I'm connected to the internet and everything's golden, then I carry on. And the next thing I do is to copy those words out below. So I just look at the words that I've made capitals in English. I copy those out below my little text, 1 on each line. And that's when I then go to translation. Now I know that as soon as I mention the words Google Translate, there will be people in the comments like, DeepL is so much better. And yeah, maybe it is, but it's just what you're used to. It's what works for you. For me, it's good because it's offline. I like the features and the familiarity of it. It's okay. I know how to work my way around a mistranslation most of the time. So with Google Translate, for me, that's fine. You may have another tool that you prefer, but that's what I use. And then I take my words, I take them to Google Translate, and I type them back in, or I copy and paste them all back in if I have even less time that day to add them to that list. And then the next step is to then rewrite that draft with the words filled in. So now I have a text with some capitals in English, some English words, so there's some words missing. I then have those translations of those words below, and then I'm going to rewrite that text. So I'm going to copy and paste the first text to save me a bit of time and fill in those capital lettered words with my new translations. And then the next step after that is to copy and paste that back to Google Translate or whatever you're using and see if it's worked. See if the words have given it the meaning you were going for. Sometimes you will spot the words that have not translated well. Maybe if it's the word light and you meant it in the sense of light coming through the window and it's translated it as light as in not heavy, you'll be able to spot those bits once you've retranslated it back, and then you can make those corrections again if you need to. And that's why I like Google Translate for this, because as well as individual words, I can do that big text. It's not restricted to single words. So it works really well to have one tool that I can use alongside the whole process. And that's pretty much it for my daily practice of how I'm using Promptly to get more Indonesian practice in before visiting Malaysia as well, where I am now, and being able to use the language much more confidently out and about. But there are, of course, a few optional steps that you might want to add in as well. So the first of those optional steps is to speak it aloud. Alternatively, you may want to speak straight away. You might not even want to write. You might be ready to hit record and practice speaking your response. For me, I enjoy having that time just to process a little bit more what it is that I want to say and how I'm going to say it for Indonesian. And then maybe down the line, I'll be willing and wanting to speak. But for me, that's what works right now. And also, this is a habit that I do first thing in the morning. If I'm thinking of waking up first thing in the morning and pressing record, I'm not going to be recording at my best. And it's very unlikely that that's a scenario I'm going to be speaking Indonesian in anyway, first thing when I wake up. And a little tip on speaking, if you do want to record, much like I mentioned about the Notes app and keeping it as hurdle-free as possible, if you want to record your speaking, just use the voice recorder in your phone, right? You don't need to buy a dictaphone, you don't need anything fancy. If you want to record, use the voice recorder in your phone. If you don't want to record and you want to reduce that hurdle even more, just speak out loud. Solo speaking habit. You've heard me say it a million times. And then another final optional step here is to get things checked. So if you have then been producing all of this practice and you're thinking, this is great, but am I doing a good job? Does this all make sense? Get it checked. So this could be with a native speaker that you know, a friend, someone in your family. It could be with a tutor that you pay for a lesson and you go through these things together. It could be a language exchange partner where you have half of the time of your exchange going through your practice, whichever works best for you. And in fact, in Promptly, there is a bonus training called How to Self-Review. Self-review, I'm not just talking about just you. That's one of the 3 stages. So there's you, which is what we do already and what I've been doing in my process. Then there's the tech option of using something like ChatGPT or some kind of AI to even Google Translate, you could argue is this, where you're checking it with tech. And then finally, there's the human option to get things checked as well and make sure that the review is working. So we go into detail on that in that bonus training, which is inside Promptly. If you're interested and you're thinking, yes, I need more language practice. This is what I need to help get me feeling confident speaking, being able to put my ideas together in the language more and more, then Promptly is potentially what you need. And you can join at the link in the description below. I look forward to working with you inside Promptly. And if you do have any questions, as always, you're welcome to email me. You can leave a comment on this video and I'll speak to you very soon. All right. Thank you. Bye.